guess that's one of our folks in here. I guess that's one of our folks in here.
Well, I'd like to welcome everyone here today. To start, I'd like to thank our lawyers for hosting us in this room here. In fact, I don't even think they're charging us any extra money for the place, so that's a wonderful thing as well. So, pardon me. So, maybe I'll just begin by introducing our plaintiffs, just briefly telling you who we are, and then there'll be statements from a few of us, and then the lawyers will answer your questions as well. So I'd like to start by introducing our lead lawyer on the case, Sean Dewart, here, and Steve Barrett, his colleague, is there, and the plaintiffs in the action, some of them are here with us today, and some couldn't make it. Ethel Hennique from Saskatchewan, a longtime Native leader, church elder in Saskatchewan, is leading off. Albert Belmar is a Quebec lawyer from Montreal. C. Hanson Dowell, who is a longtime party member, who is here with us today as well. Marie Gatley, who is sitting beside me here today. Johnny McDonald's great grandniece is one of the plaintiffs. Jean Glover is with us somewhere. Jean, where are you?
Here.
Jean's way at the back of it, long time in the party. Heward Grafty, 7-time member from the Brome-Missisquoi riding in Quebec, is one of our plaintiffs. Erica and Leyland Haver from Kelowna, BC. Robert Hess, riding president from Vancouver. Albert Horner, many of you remember, 4-time member of Parliament under John Diefenbaker. Oscar Jovicus is here, long time in the party. Where's Oscar? Here. At the back, and Oscar will say some words after too. Arthur Langford is one of the plaintiffs. Where's Arthur? Arthur's at the back. Arthur's our senior here today, 93 years old, 93 years young, Arthur, and Arthur, I'm sure, will say a few words. Neil Leonard is from British Columbia. He's not here today, but Patricia McCracken, long history in the party as well. Patricia phoned me this morning from Georgia, wishing us the very best in this action. Blair Mitchell, long time history in the party, lawyer from Nova Scotia, is with us. Tom Mitchell, where's Tom? Tom's one of the plaintiffs right there. Good. Harley Rowland from British Columbia as well. Don Ryan, who can't be here this morning but sends his regrets, was Peter McKay's captain in his riding out Kingston Way. Bought delegates for Mr. McKay to the convention, feels very betrayed. Bud Sherman, whose name will mean something to a lot of you, MP, and then 15 years in the Manitoba legislature where he was Minister of Health. Gerald Walters is here. Where's Gerald? Gerald's from a little closer to home here, a long time in the party as well. Katie Williams, the riding president from British Columbia, and John Perrin from Winnipeg, 30 years in the party, and the riding president who just stepped down and discussed about the way that this deal is being forced on us. So those are our wonderful, brave and courageous plaintiffs that have stepped forward to save the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada. And with that, I would just like to maybe turn it over for a few words from different ones of the plaintiffs who would like to say a word about the action, or do you want to start with outlining a little bit? Sure. So we'll go. I'm stepping out of the proper order here. Sean will say a word or two about the court case, and then we'll have a word or two from the plaintiffs. And maybe easier, please.
Yeah.
Thanks, David. My name is Sean Dewart. I'm one of the lawyers acting for the plaintiffs in this legal proceeding. One thing I wanted to make clear at the very beginning, because there was an incorrect media report this morning, this is not a breach of contract action about Ms. George's deal with Mr. McKay. This is not a breach of contract action. He's not suing on that contract. That contract, though, is very important because that contract is one piece of a very, very long history where the membership of the PC party has said time and time again that it does not support merger with the alliance. And the details, there's copies of the affidavits here that have been filed on this lawsuit. The details of the long history of membership opposition is set out at pages 5 to 10 of the affidavit, and you may want to have a look at that. And it culminated at a leadership convention this past June, which is 6 months ago or less by my count. And there was a pro-merger candidate who will not even make it into the footnotes of history. He got less than 1% of the votes at that leadership convention. So the membership has spoken decisively, repeatedly against merger. And what happened in the weeks and months after the leadership convention, after McKay had signed the agreement with my client David Orchard, and after Mr. McKay had publicly stated that PC policy was not to merge, was that being as he was a very young and inexperienced leader, he got played like a piano by Stephen Harper. And having been played like the piano, and the alliance finally having had its way, or almost had its way, there was then a coup. And in order to try and suck this merger through the PC party, the management, including Mr. McKay, have suspended the PC party constitution. And that's what the lawsuit is about. What we're asking the court to do is to restore the rights of the members of the PC party that are set out in the constitution of the party, because they do not allow for merger or dissolution. They certainly don't allow for it in the way that's being proposed. So that, I hope, is a brief outline of the nature of the law.
We have one of our wonderful plaintiffs here that's made an extra effort to get here. He drove 2 hours this morning. Well, lots of people drove 2 hours, but then he flew all the way from Halifax to be here on top of his driving 2 hours. So I wonder if we could welcome Hanson Dowell. Hanson told me at the beginning of this lawsuit, he said a lot of people are saying, and a lot of people are all, it's Orchard that's opposed to this action, and well, Mr. Dowell was at a meeting in 1945 with John Bracken, when Progressive was added to the name, so it was a long time before David Orchard was around. Here, you take the center stage.
Oh, you want?
Yes.
I don't want to be center stage. I'm just a country lawyer from the Annapolis Valley of Nova Scotia, but I've been kicking around for a while. My political background goes back when I was just a youngster in 1941, and my father was running as a Tory in the provincial election of Nova Scotia. I don't think more than 1 or 2 got elected. I know he only carried 1 poll. However, he managed to make it in 1960. But in any event, that was my first introduction, and my second introduction was 1945, when I was still just a little wee tad. And the first political meeting I ever attended in my life was in my little hometown of Middleton, 1,800 people in the Annapolis Valley, and it was John Bracken who was there, the former Progressive Premier of Manitoba and leader and Premier in Manitoba, who brought the name Progressive to the party. And I've been active in the executive and the provincial and so on and so forth, as most of us have here. I haven't been so upset in my whole life as I have been the last 6 weeks. Because I just feel it's an abject betrayal. I think that, there's such a thing, and I'm disappointed too that some of the mainline press haven't been saying anything editorially, because if the Grits were to do the same sort of thing in Ottawa, in Parliament or thereabouts, we would never hear the end of it. But there's such things as ethics, morality, and perhaps nobody put it better than Alexa McDonough did on question period, and she said, I like Peter, but he's dead meat. And ordinary Canadians and ordinary people are not going to stand for this. And the unfortunate thing is that the way this thing is set up, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. And and I would think, well, God Almighty Moses, if I don't go for this thing, what's going to happen? It's going to be a topsy-turvy world, and my party means an awful lot to me. But I wake up in the morning and I say, it's wrong. It's abjectly wrong, and it's got to be fought at every way possible. And so never again will any Canadian political leader ever attempt a stunt like this. And it surely is one of the reasons why one of the big things and one of the big concerns today is the way so much of the public are just totally turned off. I mean, you witnessed, what was it, something like 50% of the electorate turned out in Ontario's last provincial election. We're in the 60% range in terms of the last federal election. And in the younger people, the 30 undervote, their lack of interest has caused us concern that the chief electoral officer took it upon himself. You may recall he announced a few weeks ago that he conducted a study as to why. And this total excruciating cynicism that is out there. And there's nothing more important than involvement in the political process. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm a plaintiff, one of the plaintiffs in this suit. And hopefully you bring some morality and ethics that aren't just aren't a matter of law, but ethics that reach to the highest.
Thank you. Nice to hear another voice from Nova Scotia. Now,
I'm not alone in Nova Scotia.
I know you're not. I know you're not. Oscar Jovicus, can you make your way here? Oscar is going to give us a word or two, please. There's another man that's not an Archie, hasn't been an Archie supporter. Maybe I can win him over eventually. I don't know.
You're doing a good job.
Well, you're behaving honorably, upholding the principles and values of the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada. My name's Oscar Jovicus. I'm the immediate past president of Beaches East York Federal PC Association, and have been a member of the PC Party of Canada since 1965 in British Columbia. Really joined the party because of the inspirational leadership of John Diefenbaker, and have enjoyed my participation as a volunteer and working for different governments actually across Canada for this party. And I urged, the party had a meeting of the National Council, which is primarily about a week ago, primarily the presidents of all the riding associations. And I actually did communicate by email to all of those with emails, and that's by far the majority of them, urging them to oppose the holding of a vote on the merger. And it was not, people tried, presidents tried at that meeting to get a motion on the floor to challenge what was being done, and it wasn't even entertained. That's how this is no longer a democracy within the party, but it's in fact a coup. And it's really shocking to me when I watch that even potential people that should, in a normal circumstance, be considered leaders and running for the leaders of the proposed new party, Mike Harris or Premier Lord, they're all saying no. They obviously know something more than I know, but I think it's becoming blatantly clear that Stephen Harper is going to be the leader of the new party. I think Progressive Conservatives, if they vote, if this action is unsuccessful, and I hope it's not, but should it be unsuccessful and the votes are held, and December 6th there's a vote of the delegates pertaining to the merger, those people will be shocked, I think, to find out, I hope they will be shocked, that the end result of what they've done is in effect the takeover of the Progressive Conservative Party by the Canadian Alliance. Stephen Harper will be the leader of the new party. The majority of the members of that new party, just by if you count the numbers, are Canadian Alliance members. They'll control the policy. They'll control virtually everything within that party, and it will be the finale of a coup. And that's why I'm here today, to try to stop it as best I can with the support of my fellow colleagues in this matter, and urging the members of the PC Party of Canada to vote. If there is a vote held in their riding in the delegate selection meeting, to vote no and vote for delegates opposing the merger, and hopefully for the party as a whole to end up voting no. There is a future after voting no. It doesn't mean that the party disappears. In fact, it means that the party will have come through a real crucible under fire. It will really mean some difficult days ahead, but there's hope within a no vote, and it means the survival of the grand old party that created Canada and has contributed, the only party other than the Liberal Party which has governed in this country and has been moderate enough to win votes of Canadians across the country to form a government. I don't think that kind of result will be if it disappears. And a new party controlled by Stephen Harper and his ilk, I don't think the Canadian public will be supporting that party, and so there will be no alternative for Canadians. And so that's why I'm here, working hard and doing whatever I can to try to prevent the disappearance of the party which I've supported over 40 years of my life, which I hope to be able to support in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. I wonder if I could call on Jean Glover. Some of you will know that Jean's son just won the Governor General's Award for, was it fiction? Douglas Glover and his famous book. So Jean's just back from the award ceremony a few days ago, and I'm glad to have her here.
I come from a long line of conservatives, and here on museum paper I have a letter written to my great-grandfather on the 24th of February 1879 from Sir John A. Macdonald. And on the back I have a letter from John George Stephen to my grandmother on February the 2nd, 1952. And, okay. I have a grandmother who was born in the year of Confederation, 1867, and in 1967 she went to vote in a wheelchair. And when she finished voting, they said to her, "Now how did you vote?" And she said, "Since 1928 I have been a staunch conservative. I have a mother who, when she was 15 years old, paraded up in front of the Wilson Bank against reciprocity, 1911. They did this because they thought that it was a threat to Canadian manufacturing. They thought that it was the first step towards annexation, and they knew that this bill did not have the mandate from the people. So today, I've been a follower of David Orchard's for some time, and today I feel very, very sorry for what must happen, and I hope we can rectify it. Thank you.
Speaking about roots in the party, the lady sitting beside me here tells me that her family has voted Conservative since 1710. So I don't know if Marie, I don't know if you want to say a word or two about this fellow about your grandfather's uncle, or would you like to say a word? Yes. Good. Just wait, you sit down. I'm going to just roll your chair over. Marie Gatley.
In July of 1820, a young family arrived from Scotland, sailing down the St. Lawrence River. It was Helen and Hugh MacDonald who brought their little family, consisting of John Alexander, Margaret MacDonald, and Louisa MacDonald and James. And they were welcomed to Canada by Lieutenant Colonel Donald McPherson, a member of our clan, an uncle and an aunt. And Sir John found that he was related to people who had been defending Canada from the Americans from a very long time. Lieutenant Colonel McPherson had been in the war, the Revolutionary War, when the states were breaking away from Britain. Then he was the commandant of the garrison at Kingston during the War of 1812, and he was commandant there until 1815. So young Sir John A. Macdonald had seen that Canada needed to be independent of the United States. And the one thing he always warned of, and he was very keenly attuned, was that the states would try to take us over with money. And so 3 times he stopped the states from building a railway into this country. He knew, and from the time he was a very young man, he knew that it was going to be his responsibility to join the provinces together under the protection of the British Empire. And he had the help of Sir Charles Tupper. One of his descendants lives at Fairmeadow Avenue, and that's Bradford Axford Bowlby. Axford Bowlby came here in 1710. The Macdonalds didn't come till 1820, but Margaret Macdonald married William Axford Bowlby. So that's a bit of the history. And at one time, there was a great danger that there would be a vote in favor of free trade with the United States. And Sir John was only just recovering from influenza, but he made it to this outdoor meeting the Conservatives were having as picnics that day. And he always said that he had an inner strength to call on when he needed it. And he needed that inner strength that day. But he delivered a great oration that drew tremendous applause. He won the election, and he put the law in place that would stop the United States from having free trade with us. He knew free trade would be deadly, that we would be inviting annexation from the United States. And what they couldn't do every time they attacked us, and they attacked us often. I grew up in Sandwich, which was part of Windsor. The Americans came across time after time. They came with military might to make us, to take us over. And at one point, it was only a small garrison at Windsor. And they marched through Sandwich United Church down the riverfront of the Detroit River into the Anglican Church, St. John's, and out and back and marched around. And the Americans thought we had a large force there. And the brave Americans ran up a white flag. So Sir John has always stood for having complete independence from the United States, and he warned that free trade would be the end of us. So we must listen to that now. We cannot allow that to happen. They already have canals built down to the states waiting for free trade to come in, so they can open their sources and just we'll lose so much water we won't have enough. We must not let this happen. We need our resources. We mustn't give them over. And we must make a stand now. No free trade. It's not too late to do an abrogation. An abrogation is simple to do, and we must do that. Sir John founded this country on a good basis, and we need to have the faith and the strength to stand by what he told us. No free trade.
Thank you very much, Marie. And maybe we should, if there's, I don't know if there's anyone else that wants to say, Arthur, you want to say a word or two, and then we'll open it up for questions. And Arthur Langford is one of our seniors. He joined the party at a youthful age of, 89? And he's 92, excuse me. And he's now still, we have a hard time keeping up to him, his energy.
morning. I did not expect to be speaking. I managed to stay clear of party politics for 91 years. I was in Quebec most of that time, and in some of the circles at Bishop's University I was referred to as autrefois, which I suppose roughly translated might mean has been. I'm a convert, and my road to Damascus was when I listened to Bill Moyers on Now television talking about the difficulties for this country and for the United States because of some of the applications of Chapter 11 of the Free Trade Agreement. And it was that that led me to David Orchard and to a conviction that there was a man of integrity who could do a great deal for this country. I've been watching democracy and watching corruption in it. It seems to me that when you come to decide issues, there's only one really good way, and that is one man, one woman, one vote. Yet it seems to me that people say, now what is the end I would like to have? How do I corrupt the system in order to make sure I get that end? And I will just take one illustration, which occurred to me last night in my waking hours. 2/3 majority of people wishing to go and dissolve this party and put it into another. How do we avoid checking up on the 2/3 people? Well, we have two methods. One, after we make our announcement on October the 15th, we say to the Alliance people, go over and join the Conservative Party and swamp them. And then we say, let's select our delegates on a winner-take-all basis, so that 51% in any riding would give you 100% when you come to the December the 6th meeting. Instead of saying, it will be done on a proportional basis. Oh no, let's not do that. Because it may be that there aren't 2/3 of the people who want to make this move. And I have been witnessing this corruption of democracy, not only here, but throughout the world. I said the time has come for those people who are in the center of the political spectrum to say goodbye to big labor and goodbye to big business, and let us conduct our affairs for those in the middle. That's one of the men that stands in the middle, and I think that we would be much better not to try to build another party which would be essentially like the present Liberal Party, with its control, regardless of how much you do for those in the center, with its ultimate control, like the Liberal Party, far over to the right, where big business fuels this country. I thank you.
Well, you see there's a wide range of views in those who are supporting this action. It's a real honor for me to be part of this case in which we're fighting to hang on to Canada's oldest political party. We're saying it cannot be hijacked from us in this way. It cannot be taken away from us. It can't be signed out of existence. And that is our battle. And on a personal basis, some of you will have followed with interest the history of our party. We had a convention here in Toronto 5 short months ago, and Mr. McKay and I did this deal that was a commitment to honor the Constitution of our party, and that commitment has to be honored. When a man looks me in the eye and shakes my hand, I expect him to mean business. And Mr. McKay can run to the barons of Bay Street, but he can't hide from the truth, and he can't hide from the people who elected him. and he cannot destroy the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada. So that's really why I'm part of this action. I want us to maintain the only party that I believe has the history, the traditions, the depth, the credibility to replace the Liberal Party as a viable national alternative, and I don't want to see it destroyed, and I'm not prepared to see that happen. So those are my comments, and we'd be happy to take
Monsieur Orchard, en français,
Oui,
peut-être
oui,
expliquer quelle est la base de votre recours qui est collectif, je comprends. Vous visez directement M. McKay, pourquoi?
Oui, je m'excuse, tout à notre conférence de presse était aujourd'hui en anglais, mais la base de notre action contre M. McKay, c'est bien sûr de garder intact le Parti progressiste conservateur, de ne pas avoir une assimilation avec l'Alliance, de ne pas avoir une distribution de notre parti historique, le parti de John A. Macdonald et George H. Cartier, le parti qui a créé notre pays, bien sûr, c'est le parti qui a mis en place les chemins de fer, qui a donné le droit de vote aux femmes, et toutes sortes d'autres choses comme ça, et nous sommes en train de sauver notre parti progressiste conservateur.
Mais pourquoi viser directement M. McKay? C'est pas simplement par rapport à... Si vous pouvez répondre en français, non?
Oui, je peux. C'est une question de procédure archival, franchement. C'est pas seulement M. McKay, c'est tous les membres de la partie qui sont dans le fossé et qui c'est important qu'ils soient dirigés, que tous les membres soient dirigés par le cours. Alors c'est pour ça que ça dit non seulement Peter McKay, mais Peter McKay et tous les autres membres.
Just two quick questions. One for you, sir. One of the reasons that this is all happening is because there has been no viable alternative to the Liberal government. How is this going to help? This is only going to just create more dissent and more fracturing, and even if it succeeds, where do you go from there? And the second question would be, what are the narrow legal grounds on which you can actually base this kind of an action?
Well, I guess the first question we have to ask is why has there been no viable alternative to the Liberals? We haven't asked that question. It's my view that the Progressive Conservative Party made some mistakes under Mr. Mulroney. I've said that quite publicly. We ended up with just 2 seats. Well, let's correct that problem so we can come back into the picture. The answer is not to join the Canadian Alliance, who have proven over and over again that they don't have what it takes to connect to the Canadian population. This idea that we can unite the right, and that will somehow work. The right was united here in Ontario a couple of weeks ago. You had an election. It didn't work very well. The right was very well united in my province in Saskatchewan, weren't they, last week? It didn't work very well. So this idea that you can unite the right and go somewhere, I think we're going to be dead in the province of Quebec. We're going to be dead in Atlantic Canada. And I suspect we're going to find out that Paul Martin's going to crush this new vehicle, and we will have abandoned and destroyed the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada. That's not what I want to see happen. Narrow legal grounds.
Well, the legal grounds for this basis are really in the Constitution of the party. The Constitution of the party is a contract between all of the members. And the courts have been very clear that you can't just ride roughshod over the rights of all of the members. And as Mr. Langford put it extremely eloquently, they have suspended, I mean, it's a coup. The only thing that's missing are sunglasses. There has been a coup. They have suspended the Constitution of the party, and they are trying to, in the words of the National Post, which was encouraging Alliance members to join and swamp the vote, they are trying to stuff this, right, the National Post said, push it through. So the narrow legal basis is there's a Constitution, it means what it says, and Peter McKay is bound to it. And that's why I was saying before, if you look at the history, it's all in the affidavit in painful detail. If you look at the history, the members of this party have been clear, the members of this party have been clear time and time again that they don't want this. And they're trying to get around it. And we're hoping that the court isn't going to allow that to happen.
So Mr. McKay points out that the members are going to get a chance to vote.
Well, Mr. McKay, if he says that, he's mistaken. What's going to happen is that riding by riding, Mr. Langford covers this, riding by riding, they're going to elect 6 delegates. So if 51% of the members in any one riding association say yes, then 6 delegates go to Ottawa, and vote in favor of it. So there's no proportional representation. That's the first problem. The second problem is that if you have a riding with 20 or 30,000 people, it gets the same 6 delegates as a riding with 10 people. And the other problem is that they've openly encouraged, there's websites up and running telling Alliance members, join the other party, cast a vote in order to destroy it. So if Mr. McKay is pretending that this is democratic, Mr. McKay is in grave error.
But it is democratic in some ways, because it isn't Mr. McKay acting unilaterally. He's acting with the support of the management committee and certainly with the National Council, is he not?
Well, no, he's not acting, you're in error if you think he's acting with the support of the National Council. There's people in the room who can tell you what happened at the last meeting. But the other thing to note about this meeting coming up, aside from the fact that they've swamped the votes, aside from the fact that they've suspended the Constitution, is that they've also said they're not going to permit any debate. And they said they're not going to permit any orders. So if someone came with an amendment and say, let's do what the Alliance is doing, let's put this to the members. There's an idea, one person, one vote. Let's put this to the members. That amendment would be ruled out of order. It would never make it to debate. So they've said in advance that there's going to be 1 minute per speaker. They've said in advance that there will be no amendments, and they've said that the only piece of business to be conducted at this meeting is up or down. And, as I've already said now, as Mr. Langford said, they're stacking the vote in advance. So, I mean, you can call that democracy. Peter McKay can call that democracy, but that's not the way anyone with a high school education understands democracy.
But is it democracy to have the court that make this decision on this important question in the future of the party and politics in Canada?
The court is not being asked. That is absolutely a political question. The court is not being asked to make any decision. The court is being asked to say, apply the Constitution. When the tens of thousands of members joined, there was a Constitution. That's what they were signing up for. And we're saying to the court, would you please ensure that the people at the head of this organization respect the Constitution? It's up to the members to decide. The court is not being asked to decide this question.
So what exactly in the Constitution do you think is in violation? Is it 1 member, 1 vote? Is that what
They can't take an action this drastic affecting the policy and future of the party without going to the membership. You can't do it by that. No, they're not going to the membership. They're going to 6 delegates from each riding, and they're changing the membership. The Alliance Party, never hear me sing the praises of the Alliance Party, they cut off their membership very shortly after the agreement was announced, and they're getting a vote from every single member of the party. That resembles democracy. Suspending the Constitution and stacking the delegate votes so that there's no proportional representation is not democracy.
So is there a specific
I'll just make a comment that on that. I think it was your paper this morning that carried the news that there are 20,000 brand new Tories that have joined our party to vote. Now, isn't that a miraculous thing? In my history in politics, I have never known after a leadership race for a party to add members. Usually in the years and the months after a leadership race, the party membership rolls fall. Here we have 20,000 new members. Now, who are these members? Why would they join our party 5 after the leadership race when their memberships are going to expire at the end of the year? Why would they be joining if it were not to participate in a vote to destroy the party? That is one of the key issues here. And the second issue, say, how is the Constitution being overridden? Our Constitution says the leader shall promote the party and its aims and principles. He was elected on the basis of his promise to promote our party. A leader has a duty in any organization to promote the institution in which he leads. Our leader is promoting the destruction of the institution he was elected in good faith to lead. So I could cite you more, but those are 2 right there.
So what is the exact remedy you want the court to deliver in this case, and can it be delivered in time?
Well, the remedy we want is a declaration that our party will continue to exist. I don't mind if Mr. McKay has a love affair with the Canadian Alliance and he wants to join them. That's fine. And if he wants to take half of our management committee who no longer adhere to our principles, be our guests. They can join the Alliance, and we wish them well. We want to stay and maintain the progressive conservative party of Canada. That's what we want. And I'll just, each one of you can pick up, hopefully we've made enough copies here, exactly what we're asking for. We want a declaration as to our legal rights and that the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada will continue to exist.
Can it happen in time?
Oh, I'm sure there's time. I don't think the courts are going to be particularly pressed by deadlines that have been set in place by Mr. Harper and Mr. McKay. Well, it's been set in place by Mr. Harper and Mr. McKay.
But you're saying that the courts aren't gonna, the courts aren't gonna, I mean, Mr. McKay and Mr. Harper aren't gonna wait for this decision. It's already gonna be done. So,
Well, if I can, David, I'm confident that neither Messrs. McCain or Harper will do anything to undermine the process of the court, or at least I'm hopeful that they won't. This matter will be up in court next Wednesday. At that time, we will be asking the court to set a very expedited timetable so that people know what they're voting for on December 6th. It's important, actually, if you look at the agreement in principle, which is up on the PC Party website, it doesn't say if this is a merger. It doesn't say if the party's being dissolved. It's completely silent about what's happening with the party. It's a miracle of vagueness. So the matter will be up in court at Osgoode Hall next Wednesday at 10 o'clock, and at that point, we're going to be asking the court for a very, very early date, so it does get dealt with in advance of December 6th.
So does that mean you're going to be asking for an injunction to stop or delay the merger? Can you be a little more specific about what?
Well, no, we're not seeking an injunction. We are seeking to have the matter dealt with before December 6th, so that there's no need for an injunction.
So there'll be a final decision you're asking for before December 6th?
That's our goal, yes.
Okay. Is there something else pressing?
If someone could just explain a bit more specifically what it is in the Constitution that says that you have to have unanimous support of party members for this kind of a change.
Now we're going to have some of the brains getting into play here.
Well, let me try to answer that. I think the question is there anything in the Constitution that permits or contemplates merger or dissolution? And what the courts have said is that when you have a voluntary association, which is what a political party is, the only way that that party can dissolve itself or merge is if it does so in accordance with the Constitution. So that makes eminent sense, first principle. Then the question is, well, is there anything in this Constitution that provides for merger or dissolution? The answer is no. You look through the whole Constitution, it doesn't provide for, remotely contemplate that. What the courts have said in that situation is that in order to merge or dissolve, there has to be a unanimous vote of members. The principle set down in the case law for 30 years. So that's one of the bases of our proceedings. So, and whether this matter is heard before or after December 6th, we'll be in court, and we'll be saying that the Conservative Party, Progressive Conservative Party, still exists. It hasn't been dissolved. It hasn't merged. And so that's the primary argument. But related to that, and as others have said, if you go through the affidavit that we filed, the storage we filed, the Constitution is clear that it is a fundamental aim and purpose of the party to run progressive conservative candidates in all 301 ridings. That's what the Constitution says. It's a fundamental principle. And so even if by some magic number, 2/3 or 3/4 or 1/2 or whatever, there was a vote that purported to authorize acceptance of the agreement in principle, what the courts have also said is you can't do something that's fundamentally inconsistent with the underlying purpose of the association, in this case the political party. So at the end of the day, whether the matter's heard before or after, we seek that relief. And one would have thought, I would hope in any event, that Mr. McKay and his followers are as equally interested in, as our clients are, in having the courts decide in advance of people voting exactly what they're voting on, rather than waiting until after the fact. So we're certainly hoping that there'll be no issue about having the matter heard and resolved before December 6th.
Mrs. Gatley, can I ask you a question just about the merger? You were talking a lot about your uncle, but I was wondering if you can just give us your reaction to the potential merger in the
She said that you spoke a lot about your great granduncle. But could you tell us what is your idea about us merging with the Canadian Alliance? What do you think about this idea of us merging with the Canadian Alliance? She wants you to answer that. You can still closer to the mic.
No, I certainly wouldn't agree with that at all. John A. MacDonald formed a very fine Dominion of Canada with the Progressive Conservative Party. And that's the party we are. We are not part of the alliance. And we want to remain as we were formed in a very good way and Sir John A. MacDonald, with the help of other very fine people, Sir Charles Tupper, and they, and mainly Etienne Cartier was his strongest help, and made all the legal papers that were necessary to protect the Dominion of Canada as our fathers of Confederation formed it. And now why would we vow to allow anyone to change that? We're a good country. We do well. And I think we must stand by the people, the fathers of the Confederation who formed our party, who formed the Dominion of Canada, and that shouldn't be changed. We are at risk with the United States. They have always wanted to annex us. They annexed Mexico. They wanted to take us as one of their states, and they wanted to own everything right up to Alaska. But the MacDonald spirit in me says, no way, that's not going to happen.
Here, here. Well, I think that's the spirit in all of us. It's a wonderful note to end on this idea of when Marie talks about the alliance, they would have us, of course, Mr. Harper's views are actually in contempt of many Canadians. He's repeated that, whether it's Atlantic Canadians, and in my affidavit I cite his position on bilingualism, on the position of francophones in Canada, on the position of Aboriginals in Canada. That is not our view of a narrow, mean-spirited political party. We want a broad party that encompasses all of those Canadians who want to build this country into something great. So that's what we're here for today. Just one final question, I think, Mr. Longy, maybe, or one of the others, about the Constitution. He asked, how is he in breach of the Constitution? Our Constitution has a rule. It's called the 301 rule. It says we're going to run candidates in every riding in the country. That is section 2.2.3 of our Constitution. It says any amendments to the Constitution may be made at any national meeting. Well, that's not the national meeting that we're talking about, and this provision that our Constitution will run candidates in every riding, that's what we are fighting to protect, and that's what Mr. McKay signed in his famous agreement with me to maintain 301. So that's the short answer to your round questions. Thank you very much. Thank you.